On big screen. Okay, so welcome to our very first live Q&A call for the Technical Experts Leadership Accelerator. And we have been open for 3 days. And so this is our first call. Wanted to just welcome everyone. There's probably not many people on the call at all, but one day you will watch this when we've been in business for a long time. And I know I'm a back catalog binger myself, so I always go back anytime I join something and see how things started out. So that's what we have today. So before I get started, I want to introduce everyone to my co-host. So let me introduce you to Cynthia Adams, also known as my mom. So my mom is part of this business. She's been a part of it ever since it was just the idea of a book. She helped me with my first book and my second book, and now she's involved in the Accelerator. So Mom, can you say hi to everyone and maybe just give a couple of comments about why you're a part of this?
Well, hello. Yes, I'm Cindy Adams. I'm Angelique's mom. I am thrilled and very proud to be part of her newest endeavor. She's a hard worker. She knows what she's talking about. And so I hope you will enjoy the new membership accelerator, let me get this right. Technical Experts Leadership Accelerator.
Yes, very good. You know, Mom, I listened to a podcast and I forget what it's called, but the co-host, and they've been doing it for a year and a half, still doesn't get the name right. So this is our first time. I'm sure you'll nail it in our next session. But even if after 2 years, you still have to read the title, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, in my head, and when I'm making notes, I have abbreviated it to capital T, capital E, capital L, capital A. So in my head, it's TILA. Okay. So then I have to just stop and think, okay,
that's okay.
Let me say what the real name is.
That's okay. You could call it that. That's fine. So in case you all haven't figured out already, I mean, you know, when you have people in your family working in your business, you can play it one of two ways, right? You can decide to be formal and pretend like, you know, that you aren't family members. And I have actually worked in an organization where, you know, the father was the chairman of the board and the daughter was head of strategy, and she called him Mr. This and Mr. That. And you can certainly do that. Of course, you know, that's a multi-billion-dollar organization. So it's been around for many, many years. Or you can be informal, which is obviously what we're choosing to do. I mean, this is my mom, and I'm not going to pretend like she's not my mom. So she is my mom, and she's an important part of this business. You will, and some of you may have seen my son. I've posted pictures of him on LinkedIn because he helped me build the community feature of this platform. And my daughter is wholly uninterested in everything that I do right now, but maybe she'll be on. And my husband really helps on the back end. He's helped me with some of the copy around, you know, really how to resonate with technical experts, because he is one. And my dad is very much a cheerleader and supporter. So he is one of, helps me with my marketing, and it spreads the word. So very much a family business. So okay, Mom, I promised you I wasn't going to keep you on camera long, so I'm going to take you off camera now and just go through kind of how I envision these Q&A calls will go from now on. So the first thing I want to do is just share with everyone what we put into the membership this month. So obviously we opened our doors, but we did launch with what I consider to be some really critical content. So first of all, you have my 3 pillars framework. So this is really the backbone of my methodology, my framework for how to become an influential leader as a technical expert. And it doesn't matter if you are starting out as an individual contributor or if you are already a senior leader and you're trying to get to the C-suite. It does not matter if you are in academia or you are in industry, you are in a national lab environment, or you're an entrepreneur. These 3 pillars underpin how to be successful in a technical industry and in a technical environment. And so my framework, I talked through it very briefly in a short training, and I encourage everyone to take a look at that. And then you have a really short questionnaire that you can use as a diagnostic to help you figure out, okay, where can I get the most bang for my buck immediately? So it'll point you in the direction of which of the 3 pillars to focus on. And my hope is that just kind of going through that training and going through the diagnostic and maybe trying one other training or quick win or cheat sheet will really get you off to a good start and also bridge you to our first coaching session. So everyone who is starting with me gets an onboarding one-on-one coaching session. And so that's where we can really kind of get into the meat of what you're focused on. And I can help you both in real time, but also be thinking about, okay, well, what is some other content maybe I want to create to help, you that's in this specific situation, knowing that as the membership grows, there are definitely going to be others that are in those same situations. So that's really what's at the heart of the launch content, what we've put in this month. There's a few other things there. So there's some affirmations there that I've been surprised at the reaction that I get from affirmations that I post on LinkedIn. I post very short ones on LinkedIn. And I'm always surprised. It's always somebody I wouldn't have expected to kind of resonate with affirmations, chimes in and is like, this is great stuff. Or I get, the amount of interaction I get on the platform and publicly, I get, 5-10 times that in personal direct messages, people telling me that things resonate with them. So I will keep up the affirmations. The ones I put in the membership are much longer and also come with reflection questions to help you kind of really utilize the content there. So that is what we've put in the membership so far. And as I said, in these Q&A calls, I'll kind of just debrief on what we put in each month. We do have 4 new members, so I want to welcome our new members. So we have Petre from Canada. I actually happen to know he's from Iceland. He just lives in Canada. I just happen to know him. Sari from France. Actually, I know all of these new members. Unsurprisingly, people who know me and have worked with me are some of my first and founding members. So Sari from France, Jose Rogero from Brazil, and Carolina from Brazil. So I want to welcome all of you. So the format I'm thinking, and of course, I'm always open to feedback, but I'm thinking the format for the Q&A is that I'll go through some of the questions that have been submitted in advance. So there is a form that's on the platform, and I will make sure that's a little bit more visible. But there's a form you can use to submit your questions in advance. And so that way we'll make sure we cover your questions. If you're a little bit shy, that's fine. If you can't make it live, but you really want to hear me answer your question, that's the way to do it, to submit them in advance. So I'll go through the questions, a few of the questions that have been submitted in advance. I will ask if we have any questions from our live attendees. And those you can submit either in the chat, and my mom will be monitoring the chat. So when I prompt and ask the question, are there any questions in the chat? She will be the one who's kind of keeping up with them and will read those so that I can answer them. Your other option is always to raise your hand. And if you want to come on camera, and ask your question to me directly, you are absolutely welcome to do that. And just a reminder, we are recording this and it will be posted in the membership. So just be aware of that, that we will get to see your smiling face. And then I'll just, we'll do that. And then I'll go back to my questions that I have on the list, and we'll just kind of do that back and forth until we fill up our time. And if for some reason, you had a burning question, we didn't get to it, you can let me know and I will post answers in the forum. And I'm happy to make short videos for any of you if you really want to kind of hear me talk through it, or we can do it, via text on the forum. But really the purpose of this time is really to answer any of your burning questions, maybe elaborate on things. If you have questions about any of the training, if you have questions about other things that are going on in the forum, if you just, had something pop up and you have a question, that's fine. You can obviously asked me, no topics are off the table. The other thing that we can use this time for is, if you want me to kind of critique something. So if you maybe have an email that you want to send to an important stakeholder and you say, Angelique, what do you think about this? And you just want to read it to me, I'm happy to give you, my reactions. Same with slides, although I sometimes, long slide decks might take a little bit too long. So we'd have to be mindful of that, but absolutely can use this time for feedback on things that you're thinking about as well. So that's the format. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some of the questions that people have asked me in advance. So the first one is, what is coaching? So that's a really good question. In our field, in the sciences and engineering, coaching is maybe not as widely used as a development tool as in some other industries. So sales often use coaches, and marketing often use coaches. Certainly at the executive, the C-suite level, at pretty much any industry often use coaches. Academia, not so much. Entrepreneurship, sometimes if you're embedded in a startup accelerator. So for example, I work in the startup accelerator that is embedded inside Oak Ridge National Lab here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I'm a coach for that organization and provide executive coaching there. But if you've never been used to it, if you've never experienced it before, then you might just have a question, okay, what is it? So coaching is a relationship between your coach and yourself that is designed to help you go from where you are, your current condition, to where you want to be. And it's very much that broad. What you typically do in a coaching session is talk about some of your goals, and then the coach, in this case it's me, I'm the only coach we have so far. Maybe one day we'll be big enough that I have to hire coaches, but what I do is I really try to probe you for why this goal is important to you, what it is you really want from this goal. And then I use all the resources that I have available to me to help you go from where you are to reaching that goal. So those resources can be my own personal experience. It can be my training, my technical training. It can be my business training. It can be my coaching training. Whatever resources I have to bear, I will use to try to help you get to your goal. So some of the things that I am coaching people on right now are things like career transitions. So I've recently coached someone who was sort of at a director level in one organization. He left that organization and wanted to find a C-suite role in a different organization. So we did a lot of work doing interview prep. We did a lot of work doing slide deck and presentation prep, because when you get to those executive levels, you are often asked to give a strategy presentation. So we crafted that together. We also then talked about, once he did a really good job in those interviews that he had, we talked about, okay, well, which of these roles do you actually want and why, and which of these roles better align with your your values and your professional goals. So that's an example. The coaching that I do inside the startup accelerators are a lot of pitch deck critiques. So I, at least twice a week, will look at someone's pitch deck and give them feedback on how to either communicate with a different audience a little bit better, or to oftentimes in our case, make it less technical and a little bit more layperson friendly. I'm working with someone right now who is just fatigued all the time and really wants help learning to delegate to her staff, and also learning to feel comfortable saying no to that the requests for additional effort from her. So that's more of kind of a little bit of a mindset, but also some delegation techniques. So that's just a few examples. But when you come to your first coaching session with me, I'll ask you to fill out probably a very brief questionnaire, just so I kind of understand where you are. I will also use your diagnostic results from the leadership framework training we just talked about. And I'm just going to say, what do you want to work on? It's your session. The session is focused on you. And so you decide what we focus on. I do use a coaching model that I learned through the College of Executive Coaching, which is where I got my certification. And so it's just a really simple 4-step process. We talk about your goal. We talk about any obstacles that you may encounter in terms of what's holding you back from reaching your goal. We talk about options, what are the different ways that we can try to achieve that goal. And then we talk about it's do is the final word. It's your action plan, but it's just so it can spell the word good. So it's called the good model, good coaching model. But then we put together an action plan. And then you decide, do you want me to help you be accountable to that action plan, or you just want to take it and run with it? So oftentimes those options are around little experiments, because, if you're trying to grow your leadership, it's new behaviors that you need to get comfortable with and you need to learn how to do. And so how can we design tiny little experiments where you can try some of these new behaviors in a way that you feel comfortable with, and then get results. And then we can do some analysis together on what kind of feedback are you getting? Did that feel good? Do you want to try something more or try something different? So that is a very long answer to what is coaching, but I want to make sure that everybody really understands what it is and maybe understands what it's not. So I'm not here to give you advice. I'm not here to tell you exactly what to do. In coaching, I will definitely share my experiences, but at the end of the day, you decide, one, what we talk about, but also which things you want to try and which you don't. I mean, I don't have the absolute truth related to your situation. You know better than I do your situation and the people around you. And so I'm really more here to help you brainstorm options and think through obstacles you might have and how to overcome them. Okay, so another question that I get is, I'm interested in entrepreneurship. How do I learn more about it and where do I start? So the first thing about entrepreneurship that I think is really important is to understand the problem that you're trying to solve. So if you already have some ideas about what you want to do, and you already have either a technology or a topic or something that you want to potentially pursue as an entrepreneurial venture, it's really important to understand the problem that you're trying to solve, because that is what people buy. That's what people fund. They buy and fund solutions to problems. So start with that kind of mindset, which is different than, oh, I have an idea and I hope people will buy it. You really need to think, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? And then the second thing is I really suggest that you look locally. Wherever you are physically located, there's a high probability that there is an entrepreneurship center of some sort within 50 miles, 20 to 50 miles of where you physically are. And they are often nonprofits. They often have a lot of resources about the innovation process and kind of methodology. There's probably even some courses. They will have a lot of information about local resources that you can tap into to help you explore your idea further, help you market your idea, maybe even help you set up your business, like the finances and the taxes and the licensing and all of those sorts of things. And so I really think it's important to just connect with the local entrepreneurship centers that you have in your city. If you are associated with university at all of those places are heavily focused on entrepreneurship. And so starting there for free and building relationships with those folks and exhausting the free resources that you have right in your backyard is a great place to start. And then you can branch out to, there's an infinite amount of online resources that you can then use. And there's tons of people out there willing to sell you a program and sell you software and sell you all of these things. But it can be a challenge to sort through all of that. And that is why I really think focusing locally with the entrepreneurship centers that you have nearby with experts, they can help you navigate that, save you a ton of time and a ton of money as well. I know I'm very fortunate to have a great entrepreneurship center here in Knoxville where I live. And they not only help me with resources, they have a huge network of people. So they've helped me kind of find clients. They do a lot of free marketing for me and provide tons of resources and opportunities. So that's where I suggest you start locally. Another question that I got is, I want to support diversity and inclusion in my organization. Where do I start? So first of all, that's great that that's something that you're passionate about and that you want to help with. And what I suggest you do is really think about how you want to do that. So for example, if you've already identified maybe an organization that you want to work with, think a little bit about why you selected that organization. And if you can come up with 2 or 3 reasons. So one, they represent the diversity that you want to support. So that's great. What are 2 other reasons that you can think of that you want to support that organization? And it's really important that you think about additional reasons, because lots of organizations or people from even individuals and organizations that support or represent underrepresented groups, we get a lot of interest, and that's great. The challenge for people like us or other organizations is often we feel like, okay, what are their motives? Why are they reaching out to us? And is it only because we're diverse? Or is it because they actually value our work or us as individuals? And that's been kind of happening for such a long time that there's some skepticism built up. And so if you're able to actually articulate some of these other reasons, it really goes a long way to building rapport and building a strong relationship with the individuals and organizations that you want to work with, because it helps us understand, oh, okay, it's not just because they want to support diversity and, I'm the one Black woman they know. It's because, oh, they really, I don't know, they read my book or they read my blog or, they read something and something about my work resonated with them. And that's a much better place for building a relationship, I think. It also helps you when you kind of think through, okay, how much time and effort and resources do I really want to spend on this engagement? Well, if it's not only to support diversity, but also because, maybe somebody, has a really creative spin on the way they're doing certain work, or they have a great network that you want to tap into, or whatever these other reasons are, that helps you clarify your own strategy and clarify what it is you're trying to accomplish and how much effort and resources you want to put into the effort. So that is what I suggest on that topic. So let's see, still just the two of us, Mom. So no questions on the chat. Okay, so I am going to I have a couple more questions that I have on my list here. So I'm going to just run through them unless you thought of anything. Did you think of anything you want to ask me? No. Okay. So I'm going to finish the questions that I have. I have 3 more questions and then we'll just wrap up after that. So it might be a little bit of a short session, but that's okay. You have to start somewhere. So, okay. So the next question that I actually just got earlier this week says, I keep hearing from the people that work around me that I'm not communicating my vision as a leader very well. What can I do to help with that? And so first of all, I want to say that don't be too hard on yourself, because every leader I know has gotten this feedback. It's quite difficult to communicate your vision to people who either don't hear it very often or kind of weren't involved in its creation. So it's quite a common problem. But my suggestion is a couple of things. So first of all, your vision needs to be very simple. So from a communication kind of theory standpoint, really people can kind of only hold like 3 distinct topics in their head for very long. And so if you have a strategy or a vision that is quite long, multifaceted, there's point A, point B, point C, point A2, B2, C2, et cetera, and you have a very complex thing you're trying to communicate, you're dead in the water. I mean, it's just not gonna stick. So you need to simplify at least the top level, the first and main communication needs to be very simple with at most 3 points, which is why I have a 3-pillar framework. Is because 3 is the magic number for communications. So that's one thing. The second thing that you can do, and I suggest that you consider doing, is can you make those 3 points of your strategy or your vision, can you make those visual in some way? Can you find a way to make a little graphic that shows kind of what those 3 things are? So that you not only have words that you're communicating, but you also have a picture that you're communicating. So think about that. I mean, you do not have to do that on your own. That is what communications people are for. That's what, I mean, if you're working in an organization, if you're a leader in an organization, go talk to your communications team and tell them what you're talking about. If you're an entrepreneur, you can work with places, there's tons of places that will help you with logo branding. This isn't quite a logo, but it's kind of like a logo for your initiative as opposed to a logo for your company. So, but it's the same idea. It should be somebody who you can talk to and say, these are the 3 points I'm trying to convey. Help me turn this into a picture. And you can find people, as low as $100 that will help you with this if you need to go outside of an organization. So 1 is the simplification. 2 is the picture. And the third, and do you see how I'm actually using my own communication strategy to communicate this communication strategy? The third thing is that you need to repeat your 3-point strategy ad nauseum. In fact, I just saw a great LinkedIn post from somebody that I follow who said, you'll know they get it when they start rolling their eyes. I mean, you just have to communicate this thing so frequently that it's going to feel, it's going to grate on your nerves. But I'm telling you, people, they just get so much other information throughout the day and throughout the weeks and months, maybe between you presenting this, that it doesn't stick. And so what I suggest you do is to just come up with a very brief intro. Every time you are in front of people talking about your vision and your strategy, you can simply stand up and say, show your picture as a reminder. Our vision is these 3 points. You show your picture, point 1, point 2, point 3. And right now I'm talking about, point 3, I guess, whatever. And then you launch into whatever it is that you thought you were going to say, because you thought everybody already knew your vision, but they don't. So just every time, this is your intro. Your intro is you stand up, you show your graphic. This is my vision. 1, 2, 3, and today I'm talking about point 3. And then you can launch into your details. If you're really able to, then if you have it, like if you have a slide deck, all of those slides have your little graphic, your little 3-point graphic on it. But you're just constantly reinforcing this message of what it is. And then eventually, people will pick up on, this is the 3-point strategy, and it will stick, but it's going to take longer than you want it to. And that's really how you can do that, is to just use the simplified 3-point strategy, the graphic, and then the constant reinforcement. Next question, it says, I get frustrated around certain people at work. How can I manage my emotions during meetings? So, yeah, this is a great question. So I'll start with a little story. So when I got into the MIT Executive MBA program, I had an executive coach. That was actually my first experience with executive coaching. And it was such a great experience that I decided that I wanted to eventually become one myself. But, first time I met with her, we went over all of my performance results. I sent out a bunch of surveys with all the people that I worked with, and we went over my performance results. And most of the feedback was quite positive. I mean, you don't get into an executive MBA program at a place like MIT with people saying, you suck. That doesn't happen. But I had this one line item, and it was like, Angelique needs to stop acting like a petulant child. And I was like mortified that somebody would, under the cover of anonymity, say something like that to me in basically a very important performance review for me, because it was going into my MIT, profile. And, she didn't bat an eye. She was like, is this something you want to talk about? And I was like, no, that's not a real thing. I know who that was. That person has it out for me. I don't want to address it. And she was like, okay, fine. And we skipped it. But in a couple months, I was like, you know what? We might need to address that, because there's a person that I really struggle with at work. And it's like, every time we're in a meeting together, I find myself just getting very flustered, rolling my eyes in meetings. And, obviously other people are noticing this. And I don't know if it was, if it was specifically him who commented on it, or if it was other people, in the same kind of leadership team or not, but maybe it's something we want to address. I do want to address, because I don't want other people to think I'm a petulant child. And I'm clearly getting frustrated and kind of not being able to control these bursts of me just getting really, really frustrated. And so then she recommended to me the process I'm going to recommend to you, which is to really pay attention to your situations, like over maybe a week. Really think through, okay, when am I feeling really comfortable? When am I feeling good? When am I feeling like I'm in my zone? And when am I feeling flustered? Either can't control myself, or maybe you feel you are controlling yourself, but you feel like, you've got to calm yourself down afterwards, go into the restroom and just sort of take a couple deep breaths or whatever. And just do a little journaling exercise to pay attention to those things and notice where you are, who you're with, what you're doing in both of those kinds of situations, when you're feeling really good and when you're feeling like you're not able to really control your emotions in the moment. And once you've done that for about a week, just take a look at what you've written down and see what you've learned about the kind of situations where you feel really good and when you are struggling. And it's probably going to be, one's going to be very illuminating, probably. And in my case, I was really struggling with what I thought was a sense of unfairness towards me and others with this one person. And I was also struggling. The meeting this person was in a different time zones. Every time I was meeting with him, it was always like not when I was at my peak sort of energy level. And there were a few other things that I sort of noticed in general, but also noticed about this particular person. And so when I, shared those findings with my coach, she said, okay, well, now that you know this, what can you do to kind of help yourself in these situations? And so that's the second step of what I want you to do, is really think about, what can you put a plan in place if you're with certain people or in certain situations where you've just now figured out you can't be at your best, you're, for whatever reason, can you put some sort of mitigation strategy in place to help with that? So for me, it was around maybe scheduling the meetings at different times, or scheduling a 30-minute break where I could kind of regroup and get my energy level up before I had to meet with this person. There's been other situations where I kind of have had just sort of thinking of a little response to certain questions that I knew people would ask me that kind of irked me, planned response. There's all sorts of different ways that you can brainstorm to think of, okay, if I know I'm going to get into the situation where either this person or this environment really tests my ability to stay calm, then you can put strategies in place in advance. So that's my suggestion. And then I think over time, you will start to feel better about that and be able to be a little bit more flexible. But in the immediate term, just doing a quick analysis of what some of those situations are when you can't be at your best, when you're feeling flustered, and then thinking about how to plan ahead with a mitigation strategy, I have found to be very helpful. And then the last question I had in advance that I get asked a lot is, how did I make the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship myself? So there's a multi-pronged answer, I guess. So on the one hand, when I left a role that I had for many years and took on a new role, and I found that team really, it was an innovation team, 100 and so scientists and engineers. I found that they really not only needed to learn about innovation and the innovation process, and I needed to kind of I was brought on board to get product development, more revenue from new products and stuff like that. So very sort of technical innovation, product development type of stuff. And the team needed to kind of learn my methodology for doing that. I had developed a methodology at my previous role, and so I had a framework for that. But they also really needed just professional development help. I mean, the employee engagement scores were quite low. People were feeling sidelined because the senior management never spent any time with them. And so I had to not only do kind of the technical work, but I also had this big coaching and professional development component to my role. And when I started to really address that, I was making training courses and videos for them. I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching with them. I was really helping them focus on communicating to executives. And I realized, I actually really, really enjoyed doing that part of the job, probably more so than, working with business development and sales to kind of get new products, out the door. So one was learning this new learning I had about myself and my own passions, and what I enjoyed doing. And then at the same time, I was working on a book. When I was at MIT, I got an idea for a book. So I launched a program, a research project to collect ideas from women in male-dominated fields. And I thought I might have kind of the outline for a book, in particular for women in the sciences and engineering. So I was starting to work on this book. I put it on the shelf when I got this new role, but then COVID hit, and I actually had some time freed up, because in Europe, the way they handled COVID to avoid layoffs, they actually had people where the government would pay for a day or a week of your salary, but you weren't actually allowed to work during that time. So you had to have your computers off. And so I finished my book. And when it came out, it actually did much better than I expected. And the book is really about coaching and professional development for scientists and engineers, a lot of the same stuff I was doing with this team I had. And so I thought, I wonder if there's a way to turn this into a business. So that was kind of my initial entrepreneurial thought process behind. I did have a little bit of market information, from the book. And then I also, once the book came out, I started to get a lot of requests for speaking. And so I was getting some, just basic hints, really small hints that, okay, people might actually pay me to do this. And we'd saved up some money. And so, really just talked it through with my husband, and he was like, go for it. So that was sort of my transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. So I already had I did a side hustle by writing the book. So I side hustled before I left. I had some market data and some people paying me before I left. And then really have just worked extremely hard to try to get the business off the ground. It has pivoted multiple times. First, I thought I was going to be a professional speaker. Then I thought I was going to be a consultant. And now kind of where I decided was this membership site, this Accelerator, because what I've realized is that, as much as I like books and online courses, and other people like them too, it's not enough. You really need the coaching and community component to it, and things like this, being able to talk to people live, because being a leader, there's a lot of things that are different from being a technical expert to being a well-respected, well-paid leader. And so I really wanted to develop a comprehensive solution. So, so, and I would say, the business itself, it's not what I thought it was going to be. I really thought, I thought I was going to have a totally internet business, be an online courses. And I was going to, I bought into the whole sales pitch that people give you where, you make one course and you'll become a millionaire, and none of that worked. I think my first course, I sold it was like $12 or something like that. So, so I pivoted really to consulting. So it turned out that, there's leadership accelerators here. There's entrepreneurship accelerators here in town, and they really needed somebody who has actually developed products out in the real world to coach and mentor and design training for the entrepreneurs that are here locally. And so I started doing that, and then realized, okay, I'm hearing a lot of the same questions over and over again. A lot of the same issues are coming up. Let me create content around those things so that I can share it with more than just the people that are here in town. And that's kind of, how the membership has formed. So that's my transition. And I'm happy to share more about that. And I will make a list of resources. I've posted something on LinkedIn in the past, but I will make a list of the resources that have really helped me, because I do know that a lot of folks who follow me are really interested in kind of making that leap from a corporate role or even an academic role into entrepreneurship, whether you do that as a side hustle or whether you fully transition from one to the other. So, okay, well, those are the questions that I had. So before we wrap up, I thought I would just bookend this with my mom again. So I'm going to bring her back on a camera. And as I said, there's no point in pretending like she's not my mom. So she's definitely my mom. And I thought, I went through the old family photos, and I thought I'd grab one and let her just comment on it. So I don't know if can you see that, Mom?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so can you tell everybody about that picture?
All right, let's take a trip down memory lane. We were a military family for 23 years. And so this particular photo is from when we were stationed at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. You were maybe 4.5 years old at the time. We lived in an apartment complex, and right outside of our front door was that bar that connected the steps that went up to the second level. And so at least
actually another one here,
minimum 20 to 30 times a day, you would say, Mom, I want to go hang on the bar. And so you were tall for your age, but not tall enough at the time to get to the bar. So multiple times a day we would go out. I'd lift you up by the waist, you'd hang on, and you'd either just hang like you did in the second picture or hang upside down. You've always been very athletic, but that little bar was, you loved
used
that
to
bar.
be.
You loved that hanging bar as much as you did swimming in the apartment complex swimming pool. So yeah, that's one of my favorite photos. I love that.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. So there you go. And when my Accelerator members get behind the scenes of insights, and just so you know, I have given my mom, she has free reign. If you are in the forum and you want to ask her a question about what I was like, whatever, she can answer however she sees fit. So that is a-okay with me. So, okay, well, the last thing I just want to mention, so our next Q&A call will be October 19th at the same time, which is noon Eastern. And so we will call that a wrap for our very first Q&A call for the Technical Experts Leadership Accelerator. So thank you.